Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Analogue Wonderland YouTube channel, and welcome in particular to Hamish Gill, the man who, when you Google image search, it's either him or it's a New Zealand youth athletic runner.
Prick.
Who is a long-running feud, and people often get the two confused. Anyway, Hamish, welcome. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm alright. You right?
Yeah, I'm okay. I was doing a lot better this week than the last couple of weeks, where I definitely had a lockdown low.
Yeah.
But you spoke to me halfway through it and taught
Yeah.
me through it a little bit. But yes, I'm a lot better now than I was then, which is fantastic. The weather is better. My parents are getting vaccinated. I think both those things hugely help. Anyway, enough about that. So we've brought you on. In fact, I intended to bring you on a while back because one of the businesses that you run, Pixelator, was kind enough to put a voucher in the WonderBox back in November. And here we are. It's end of Feb. So that was close.
Yes, well, I am more elusive than I've ever been these days, I think.
Yeah, it's because you've got so many social events, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that.
Also, the other thing, I think you were on the show, I think it was last summer, and we were drinking whiskey, and not only did the show go on till I think over 2 hours, like after I'd finished broadcasting, I stood up and like walked sideways into the wall. Because you're just chatting, but you're drinking whiskey. So I'm sticking with tea this time.
Water.
Oh my god. Is that water? Is it vodka?
Yeah, no, it is water. It's
Amazing. Well, what we're going to do, and you've already gone through, so thank you so much. So you're going to help us. Well, you've already gone through it. So we're going to announce the special mentions, the lucky dip winner, and the grand prize winner for the WonderBox photo competition. But we'll spend a bit of time first catching up with you and your various projects, because the photo that actually I put up there wasn't 35mmC, wasn't Pixelator, wasn't anything to do with lenses, wasn't. What else do you do? I think there's 5 businesses. This was the other one. This was the co-working space in Worcester.
Yeah.
So let's do Pixelator, because that's the most relevant. When I put the question out on Twitter and Instagram earlier today of like what do people want to know about, there were 3 main topics. One of them was quite weird, which we'll come on to at the end. But the number one was, how's Pixelator going? What's in the pipeline? What are people saying, etc. Because I guess you there we go. There we go, Jimmy. I said to Hamish before we started, sort your lighting out. He ignored me. Jimmy says it straight away. Yeah, so Pixelator's been in the wild for 5 months, 6 months now, maybe a bit longer since the Kickstarter came.
Was it? It was either August or September the 24th. One of those 2 months. September the 20th.
One's a month, one of them's a date.
But I don't remember the month.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. So, okay then. So, yeah, over half a year, you've had your first Christmas in retail, which is always an exciting moment. You've had your you've moved from Kickstarter to running your own shop and selling it directly. How has it been?
Well, all whilst we've been within a pandemic.
That's true.
Yeah. It's been all right. Yeah. It's it's hard work, isn't it?
What, retail?
Well, just working.
Actually, that is true. That's why they call it that.
Yeah. No, it's been fun. We've sold. I mean, I don't know an exact number, but including the Kickstarters, it's over. It's somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 Pixelators now. Wow. So quite a few, but it's the sort of cost of sales is rather high.
Oh, I saw that comment on Facebook the other day. And bear in mind, I'm the guy who helps you with some of those activities. I didn't take it personally at all. Keep doing that, idiots. No, but I mean, taking aside profitability and the fact that presumably this hasn't made you a multimillionaire just yet, that's a lot of Pixelators out in the world.
pixelators, yeah. It is a lot of pixelators, and we're getting we get good feedback as well. Like people's expectations are met, which is always I think the thing that I never realised, like everything, like any, like in photography, you're never entirely happy with the thing that you produce. You never really, I suppose, in most things in life, you're never really entirely pleased with the thing that you've created. And as much as I know that it is, I even find it difficult to say that it's good. It is good. I know it does the job because I use it, and I know that it works, and I know that quite a lot of thousands of people are saying that they are really happy with it. And some of the people, especially on our Facebook, are, absolutely enamored with it. You know, we've got some actual, fans, I suppose, that say it's absolutely fantastic. It's all they can possibly need from a film holder. I still go, oh yeah, but it just could be better, couldn't it?
But I think that's probably the mentality that's led you to start 5-6 businesses.
Yeah.
I think it's quite a personality thing. I mean, on a very different scale, I always find that with Analogue Wonderland, it's one of the hardest things about switching off properly, especially at the moment where we can't go on holiday and be away. I'm always within sight of a computer or phone. It's so hard to not get annoyed at something that doesn't quite work or doesn't quite load fast enough or this and that. So you've already tweaked it several times. I think you're on version 1.3.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so we did a couple of tweaks, and then released them all at the same time, or sort of officially released them all at the same time, which they sort of overlap. Some people got bits of version 1.3 but in the sort of week before, if you see what I mean, or week and a half before it was properly out, if you see what I mean. But yeah, basically it went from version 1 to version 1.3, and version 1.3 is it does all of the things that it's supposed to now.
Although 1.3 just immediately shouts there's a 2.0
well
in the works.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there will be, because we would have to change it now. We would have to change the tooling in almost entirely, which not at the moment could I see us doing. The money is going elsewhere at the moment. The sort of development and looking at other ideas, other directions. Other things.
That sounds exciting, and I love the idea then that you just leave it on 1.3 forever, because there'll always be people who are like, I'm going to buy it when it's 1.5.
Yeah, but no, the our main. So we're releasing in the not too distant future. We're releasing a mask. So it'll be there's a piece of
the diffusion mask.
It's just a bit. It's like a square of rubber. Well, it's not. Well, it is rubber. It's EPDM, which I think it is. Which is essentially it's a bit like it's like mouse mat material. The sort of underside of a mouse mat, that kind of grippy rubber stuff.
Okay. Yep.
So it's like that. It goes around Pixelator. So if you've got a larger light source than Pixelator, which most people do, it goes around and blocks out the light.
Okay, got it.
It's also, because it's a slightly grippy material, it holds Pixelator better on the surface, even than the feet, new Pixelator feet do that came with version 1.3. And also, as an added benefit, when you're running the film through Pixelator, some people complain that it's quite easy to knock the 35mm frame sort of vertically out of alignment. So what this does is with any roll film, once you've got the film lay on through Pixelator and then on this material either side, it just grips it, so it holds it in place a bit better. So in theory, for what is probably going to be, well, I mean, this rubber thing is definitely going to be less than a tenner. It might even be less than a fiver. We're still working on the price. It's going to be very cheap for an add-on product that will just make just a little bit. The thing that the sort of the compromise with Pixelator is that it's more fiddly to use than, say, the some of the ones that feed through. because it doesn't have a feeding channel for the film, so it's a little bit more fiddly to use. So hopefully this is going to kind of remedy that.
But is that because it's more flexible, right?
Yes, that's the compromise. You
Yeah,
get
exactly.
flexibility, but more fit. Great. Pixelator's thing is it's the most flexible and the least amount of money, but the compromise is it's more fiddly to use.
Yeah, and I think that makes total sense because I'm just going to pull up the Pixelator website. I'm conscious actually that we're talking as though everyone knows it. And I'm sure lots of people do, but for those who don't, there we go. You can see it. So you have one of the pictures probably 1 or 1.0, 1.1 maybe. I don't know whether you've updated, but yeah. So there you go. So you have the ability to pull out the different gates, and this is scanning 35mm, but you can see there's a big enough space. Yeah, and my wife used it with APS with moderate success. There's a bit of light leaking around the sides, but yeah, no,
we've got APS gates coming. So we've got gates now. We've got gates for like specific gates for sprocket scanning. These are all add-ons that you can buy from Simon Forster. So we've got ones for sprocket scanning. We've got ones for slides for 35mm and 120 slides. We've got some glass plate frames, and then we've got the APS one is like imminent, like the next couple of days, kind of imminent. And then we're doing 110 and 110, a sort of 110 16mm gate. So it'll be a combination of obviously 110 film and then various 16mm, Super 16 and 16mm movie formats. And then we are going to do 127, 126, I think. And then just go back out to the community and see what people want. It takes Simon a bit. Obviously, Simon's got other things in his life rather than just making bits of bits of.
I'm just again showing people scrolling through the because on your website you have 3D printable parts.
Yes, that's yeah.
You can download Simon's inserts for free if you have your own 3D printer or access to one, or he will build one for what seems like a really reasonable cost.
Yeah. So this all people can just print, and I don't really understand 3D printing, but I think with obviously once you get the file, you can kind of tweak it a bit as well, can't you? So that's what I'm hoping will eventually happen, is that we'll have more people who have 3D printers and they'll come along and say, well, I've took Simon's idea and I've done this, this, and this with it.
Yeah. So at the moment on accessories, you can buy the transducer. I know there's cleaning products because, that's always a big part. I had someone actually, I had a customer ping me the other day saying that they're a bit worried about the film. In a really nice way. They weren't sure, and their first thought was the film. And they sent through the scan, and there was just dust everywhere. And I was like, what scanner have you used? And they're like, oh, this one I found on Amazon for £40 or something that's like dedicated 35mm. I'm like, yes. Yes. So you got those, but then the 3D printable parts. I mean, I remember you talking about this right from the start, was that you were designing something that was going to be useful, obviously out of the box, but your intention always seemed to be, your vision for it always seemed to be, it's like it's a base that people can then.
Yeah, but it's also what we've tried to do, or what we're continuing to try to do, is be that kind of almost that next step up from the 3D printer, because you can 3D print film holders. A lot of them have not all of them, but as far as I understand, some of them at least have a bit of a reputation for scratching film if you're not careful with them, all that sort of stuff. So what we wanted to do was provide something that, or I wanted to do was provide something that is a step up from 3D printed film holders, but also kind of taps into the same audience of people who might be able to 3D print things, or it's that kind of step between it and the one that I can't pronounce, Valoy, VLOI, which just looks, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I'm hoping we're going to collaborate. We talk all the time, and I'm hoping we're going to collaborate with them on some ideas. So
yeah, no, definitely, and I think as well the price point that you're at, because I got one through Kickstarter, I think, and it's I see it's one of those pieces of kit that you just to have around, things. Even if I end up specializing in a format or whatever, getting something that the flexibility is going to make a big difference. So feedback's been, so you sold thousands, which is amazing. Feedback seems to be pretty good. Andrew Smells just written in and said he's chuffed as hell with Pixelator. Son got it from him as a Christmas gift, brilliant piece of kit. So there we go, another fan, which is fantastic. So some tweaks to come, some coming from you, some coming from the community, but they can be found through the Pixelator website.
Yeah, it's all on the Pixelator website. Yeah,
brilliant.
The other sort of big thing that I've wanted to do recently, which I can see Sroyan commenting that he's I sent him one to test. He's going to be doing us a whole series of articles. I don't know if you've seen his articles on 35mmc about darkroom printing. They're like, as far as I'm concerned, they're, from the point of view of somebody starting out, there's hardly anything on the internet that's as good. And I'm not just saying that because it's on my website. His writing.
We'll drop the link in the below. Drop the link in the below. Yeah.
The way that he explains things is just with a lot of detail, but simultaneously manages to be
really accessible,
not in any way patronising or condescending, but enough detail for people.
He was sending me an article about something totally different earlier in the week, and again I read the whole thing, which just because you get exactly drawn in by that's a beautiful level.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Is there anything that you've seen that's really surprised you with the way people have used it? Is there anything that anyone's done and you're like, shit?
Well, somebody like full on gaffer taped one to what would have originally been a ceiling sort of mount LED light. So they just got the ceiling mount LED light and powered it somehow, and then just literally just gaffer taped a Pixelator to the top of it, leaving just only the hole for 35mm film, because that was the only thing he wanted it for. I was like,
that's amazing. That's going to be pretty powerful. You're not going to worry about the backlight in that one. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but people have done all sorts of things, and people use it with, what I love is that people use it with, some people are using it with just, in front of a window with an iPhone or whatever. And then there's a guy who's got one of those amazing, like, Edelkrone sort of tripod arm things that's like perfectly weighted and, holds it at an exact angle and all this kind of stuff. It's brilliant. Like, people are using it with really basic, essentially crap equipment at one end of the spectrum, but also using it with really high end, really high quality kit at the other end of the spectrum, and people are getting, really fantastic results. And some of the results that we see, we had, oh God, what's this? Alex is, oh God, like an arsehole now, I can't remember his name. Alex, he basically shot a project worth of photos in, oh God, Norway, I think, and made a zine out.
He talks about you all the time, mate. Really close friends, I thought, but okay.
Well, Josh deals with all this stuff. So, yeah, but anyway, made the zine, and their photos, man, they are stunning. They're like really, really good and really, really, really nicely, really nice digitizations. They look really high quality, and it's so satisfying to see, people getting that kind of level of results out of it. Because the naysayers say that you can't. The naysayers say, "Oh, you need this piece of kit and this piece of kit," and of course, you just need to do it right.
Well, personally, I drum scan everything in my my spare bedroom, but that's just me. No, that's fantastic. Did you happen to see? I don't know whether you tracked this. Whether people who from the WonderBox with the little flyer took advantage of the deal and got one.
I think we had like two or something. I couldn't believe it. I was gutted. I was like, surely loads of people are going to take us up on this offer.
Well, that means the good news is there's quite a lot of discount codes flying around. Find a WonderBox friend and get involved. Amazing. Okay then. Well, so that's brilliant. Thank you so much. So Pixelator, a lot of people had questions about that. So hopefully we've covered a little bit there. Second up, people for some reason seem interested in when your next podcast with M is released. I don't know whether they've seen the reviews, because
I think if we have full of 5-star reviews. Of course, the words underneath the 5-star reviews are all terrible about how rubbish it is. But we do get emails like periodically from people saying, "Come on, like when's the next podcast?" I'm like, "What? Why would you want it?" It's just me. But the thing that I don't think we ever, because we genuinely thought, well, we can kind of just do a podcast and just kind of run it into the ground, so that to the point that nobody listens to it anymore, because it's just a laugh. But then people actually did listen to it, but it wasn't even about photography. Like, it was about photography about 10% of the time. And somebody emailed, one of the emails we had recently was like, I appreciate that I appreciate that your podcast isn't actually about photography. I was like, yeah, what is it about? And what gives me the right to run a podcast that's just about this totally amorphous subject matter that just whatever comes into my and M's mind at any given moment in time?
I mean,
but how busy? I think the problem is.
My defense would be you both live in a world of photography. Like, even if you don't want to dare to say that you are a great photographer, which I know makes you really uncomfortable in the thought of saying that, I can say you've absorbed enough about the topic to be really interesting on the subject.
That's the problem. When me and him talk to each other, I think quite a lot of the time, because we spend so much time thinking about photography, because we get on so well, when we actually talk to each other, we don't give a crap about photography. I'm not interested in talking about photography still.
Oh no, this is the problem. Even we brought this up, and Merge has just said, "I must listen to the podcast now." No, that's not what we're saying. Don't. It's terrible.
Don't.
Oh no, we're accidentally marketing it. Oh, I mean, I've put it up here, and it is brilliant. Actually,
don't put any links to it or anything. Don't say what it's called.
Oh yeah, and the trick is as well is to spot the different typos that came out in each logo each time.
Yeah.
So let me have a look. So episode 0, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. Then you had the signal versus the noise, which I remember quite distinctly was an hour-long April Fool's. And then 1 year, holiday hugs, which must have been Christmas.
We recorded like 3 that we've never put out. We recorded one with
2 that were 10 months ago specifically, but then nothing since.
No. Well, the last one we did was with Mike, negative positives, and Mike, and it was about, like, I don't know. It started off being about, like, this was when all the BLM stuff was going on, and it started off being about, like, farts, and then went, like, really deep into BLM and, like, was really heavy stuff, and then ended on, like, something really stupid, like, well, it wasn't fun. It was something as equally as stupid as farts. I'm like, we can't put this out.
And so that's not one that's come out? No. I mean, brilliant. I remembered as well when you say that, not to just randomly just smack you for stuff you don't release. We did a video, like, where you came to Analogue Wonderland.
I know.
15 months ago? Like, we first moved into the new warehouse.
But it's so the content. There's the bit where you and me. If you think about what happened, right?
Yeah.
I got down to that village, wherever it was. We went for a nice coffee and it was sunning outside. Then we went to the top of a hill where it was like the coldest, wettest weather I've ever experienced in my life, and we walked around like freezing for a bit. And I don't know you could actually hear any of the things that we're saying because we're just shouting into the wind. Then we went back to your place, and we just chatted a load of crap that would be now way out of date.
I know we were talking about, like, the launch for Simplicity Kit and stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, just wasting fucking time.
What annoys me is that I made a really good joke in that, and that the world will never hear.
Well, basically, that podcast that me and Em and Mike recorded, that is also the funniest thing you'll ever hear. It's like, when you shoot, like I did once, loaded my first and possibly second roll of 120 film into a Hasselblad and shot the paper.
Brilliant.
Those photos were clearly the best photos I've ever taken. It's the same with these podcasts and these videos. That video, if we were to put that video of you and me walking around on the coldest hill in the world, that would break YouTube. It would be that good. So we just can't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a duty that we don't release that,
Exactly.
and no one will know just how funny that one joke was. So, but it was really good. Hamish didn't laugh. I remember that quite clearly as well. So, it was that good. Okay, so we seem to have accidentally encouraged people to subscribe to your podcast. I don't know why when we said it's literally rubbish and it won't ever get another release, and the episodes they do will be released after the time when it's relevant.
Yes. From the first ever episode we recorded, we were like, "This is crap. Don't listen to it."
I know. Well, this is the funny thing. Like, I remember having a great time writing the review because you were like, "Please don't review this well." So everyone immediately then did do 5 stars, but then would compete over who could write the most
Yeah.
backhanded compliments or flat out ironic insults that we could, and then actually it made it rise and people subscribe more. Okay, so that's that project. You've put its location as Colombia. Nothing about it. Oh, right. Well, there's more subscribers, so
Just bear in mind, I had nothing to do with any of it. It was all M.
yeah. Okay, so that's those two. Better Talk 35 MMC a little bit as well. Obviously, it's the blog that most people probably, apart from your famous radio podcast career, 35 MMC is probably what you are best known for in the film photography world. How is it going? Did the pandemic see more people reading articles?
Yeah. So last year we had like a big upturn in visitors to the website at the beginning of the year that kind of gradually over the course of the year went back to normal. And then the beginning of this year, it's gone back up again. So I think winter is good for the blog anyway, sort of after Christmas. I get a lot of readers. And yeah, we're getting like, not far shy of 500,000 page views a month at the moment, which is
Blimey, that's awesome.
quite good.
And do you notice, especially in the last year, I think, are there certain articles? I'm just scrolling through 35MMC as well. Again, just can't assume that everyone's seen it. There's an advert for Analogue Wonderland at the bottom. Brilliant. This is on my Google, in fairness. So, did you notice that certain articles did particularly well during the past year, during pandemic? Did people spend more time, learning about darkroom or reading camera reviews versus?
Yeah, well, Soren's series did exceptionally well. I also rejigged the entire website in the middle of last year, which has had a really positive impact on the structure of the site, like how people find stuff and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that darkroom series was very high up there in the most read content. Probably the biggest article last year was one about a Nikon 20mm lens, which was just fantastic. It was written sort of a sort of a proper kind of insight into the chap who wrote its kind of path from discovering this lens and then just getting really, really, really good with it. I can find a link.
And while I've done that, I've just I also had a quick look. So if people are interested in Soren's, and I highly, highly recommend, well, any of his writing, but this one in particular, I think it's tutorials and know-how. Tutorials and guides is how I think I found it last time. And then, there we go. Yes, here we go. And then the top one at the moment from 18th of Jan is Darkroom Technique Part 6. This one's about contact sheets and what they can tell us, but there's a lot more.
So there's I did an article called "The Most Read Content of Most Read and Commented Upon Posts Published on 35MMC in 2020," which has got a load of this stuff in it. But yeah, right number one, this Nikon 20mm f3.5 Taming the Ultra Wide by Fernando Martins. It had more comments on it than any other article on the website but one, and that was an article I wrote a couple of years ago about the Sony A7 R2 or something, and I had loads of comments because it ended up at number 1 on Google for the Sony A7R2 review, and because I was really negative about it, loads of people had to go at me. In fact, somebody told me to die.
Wow.
But apart from that one, his article over 100 comments it had on it. Just really, the photos are absolutely fantastic. It's well worth looking up. And he's just done another one for me. He did a photo shoot. One of his photos ended up on the album cover of one of Bradford's new albums, and then he's ended up photographing them for the release of their sort of later still out album. So the article is about how he used to be when he grew up in the 80s. He was really into this particular, into sort of indie music, and used to dress in a certain way, and was really into the style and all that sort of stuff, and how it obviously has influenced him throughout his life. And then it goes on to this album cover, and then it goes on to his photographing the band, and it's really good article. That's coming out next Wednesday, and it's about, actually, the sort of subtext is about, it doesn't really matter whether you shoot digital or film, because here's some digital photos and here's some film photos that I took of this band on this day, and look at the difference in the results. Then some are better than others, but you can obviously tell the ones that are film, ones that are digital, but there isn't any really saying, oh, those film ones are better or those digital ones are better. They've all got merit. So
No, and I think the reason that even before I knew you and we would talk, or even before Wonderland, I remember what I always enjoyed about 35mm was that the articles had that feel that it would. There were some that were more traditional gear reviews, but not spec heavy, not then pushing something necessarily, which a lot of the big photo websites can do. And I know your business model is separate. You're not trying to bring people in and then move them on, flog them a load of lenses and take the affiliate sales necessarily. So having those kind of articles that meander around a topic that includes photography, I find it fascinating.
Well, it's always the ones. I mean, we just had this article go up the other day. Well, hang on, let me just find it so I can tell you the title that it actually is, rather than just making it up off the top of my head. Finding My Analogue Groove by Laura Kogan, I guess her name is pronounced, and it's great. It's like her just path into photography, basically, like starts from the beginning and ends at the fact that not long ago she moved to Iceland, and now she shoots a Hasselblad and takes bloody incredible photos of Icelandic.
I mean, that's brilliant. Film photographers path. If you end up in Iceland with a Hasselblad, then end film. That's when the credits roll. You're like, nailed it.
Yeah. Well, that's basically the article.
Yeah. Oh, incredible. Okay, then. So the blogs then picking up. Then you're seeing still really, really good traffic. Amazing. Let me just quickly double check whether any other questions have come in.
I can tell you the name of my new lens company if you want to know it. No, I've not told anybody else. I might as well.
Is this breaking news?
Both could be if you like.
One sec. I've got great sound for breaking news. That is the dignity that I hope a presumably premium lens, in that it's not. Well, I don't know. All right, you tell us about the lens, and then I'll abuse it. I'm getting ahead of myself. So what is your lens? Wait. Well, first of all, when do you have a lens company? The fact you're naming it suggests that it's soon to burst onto the world.
So I've got a very very rubbish looking website at the moment because it's half made. It's basically me and Chris from Scalaney Optomechanics, who does the sonar refurbishments. We decided to do a little joint venture where we're going to bring some kind of slightly esoteric, I suppose. I'm trying to think of a word to describe it. Basically, really unusual and well, the first series are called the classic. They're going to be called the classic series, and they're going to be mechanically they're going to be really really nice, but like handling a really really nice lens from about 90 years ago. But obviously made today out of it's made out of brass, and they're going to be really, they are going to be fancy, proper fancy. So people can look it up. It's Omnar Lenses is the name of the company. OMNAR.
I'm going to do this live. ONNAR lens.
OMNAR lenses.
ONMAR.
No. OMNAR.
Damn it! First time. Okay. And yep, Sonar Lenses is coming up in all my Google searches. So is it onarlens.com?
Omnarlenses.com.
Omnarlenses.com.
Yeah. So this is like, bear in mind, this is 5 miles from being a good website at the moment. It's sort of half made.
Hey, it loads quickly.
Yeah. I'm not even sure you can sign up to the email address thing yet, so it's probably shouldn't be telling you about it. In fact, you can't.
Yeah, you click on that doesn't work.
If you're interested, just let me know and I will add you to the email list.
Okay, yeah, so go there just for interest and then separately ping Hamish. That sounds really exciting. So what inspired you to do this? You've played around with lenses for as long as I've known you. The interesting ones, again, you've always found more interesting than something that's technically, an upgrade to the lens reflection on the third particle, etc. So is this something that you just look at and say, I wish these existed, let's make them?
Yes.
Oh, that was a lucky guess. Good. Well, there we go. Good interview.
Yeah. No, basically it's exactly that. So Chris has got some optics, some sonar optics. So those are going to be the Bertelli is the first sort of lens that was going to be the Scaleni Bertelli, but it's at least in part going to be the Omnar Bertelli now. And that's a sonar. And then we're doing that's his first sort of idea to the table, and then mine is this wide angle pancake lens that is going to make a very small amount of people really excited, and then the rest of the world go, what the fuck are you thinking?
Pancake lenses, I'm in. Like anything you're like, oh my god, I can fit this camera in my pocket now.
Yeah.
Photos are terrible, but I can't see how this would work. Graham Simpson's pointed out you've missed an obvious trick by not calling the company Lensy McLensface, which
insight.
Lawrence has suggested that we send a postcard to be added to the list. Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, if you send a postcard to the Kiln in Worcester, saying please, Hamish, I want to be on the Omnar Lens day.
That's absolutely fine. I can do a postcard.
Perfect. Brilliant. Okay, so we should really move on to the photos. If anyone watching has any questions for Hamish that we haven't covered, there was that third one, the really weird Twitter one. Where
I don't know anything about that.
No, me neither. But it was just a weird thing. Like, basically, this afternoon we got somebody write a very specific question about Ferrania and colour film, which, to be fair, I'd love to be able to answer. The short answer is no insights other than what's publicly available. Ferrania, especially being where they are, was hit very early, very hard by COVID stuff, and as all the film suppliers are trying to work through that. So whatever plans they had, assume they've gone back a year, which is true for a lot of people. But the weird thing about it was a very specific question came through on Twitter, and then 2 hours later, the same specific question came again from a different account, then again from a different account, which was either people copy-pasting as a very subtle troll, or the spam bots really caring about colour film.
The fact that you haven't seen this before makes me wonder why, because it happens to me all the time. Like, somebody will comment something to me on Twitter, and then I'll get a couple of like these copy tweets to me. So I don't know if it's something to do with me.
Must be. I mean, I tagged you in it, so you must have tracked the swarms of very specific copy bots.
Yeah,
okay.
I get loads, oddly, a lot.
That's brilliant. Is it because you try and buy fake followers a lot, and therefore you're sort of in that industry?
That's exactly it.
Anders, actually,
I
this is
can
a good
tell you
point.
some very, very amusing stories about fake followers in our community. I can tell you that.
Anders here has a really good point actually that's worth quickly asking before we move on. He says lenses have been really popular on Kickstarter. So is your plan going to be Kickstart to get going, or do you already
Mm,
have the stuff in place to move to production?
we are planning to do the first. So the pancake lens I'm funding, the Batelli is largely going to be funded by Chris, and once we've got those two out, there's another kind of little bit in the middle that I can't. Well, I'm not going to talk about now.
Okay.
But once that's happened, the third lens, which is the sort of biggest deal as far as I'm concerned, is going to cost probably about 150 grand. So we'll probably have to do a bit of Kickstarter there, because I just can't see that we will have got the momentum. But what we're hoping is that we're hoping not to need to do Kickstarter. Do Kickstarter. By that time, we will have established ourselves in the in the industry as a brand that can be trusted, that does actually produce real things, because that's obviously.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, and even that answer, and yeah, I mean, the community knows you. You've already done one Kickstarter, delivered it, and it's turned into Pixelator, a business that's ongoing. You're not going to take money and disappear, but obviously, the wider community has seen companies in lenses using Kickstarters, and then the rumours of the way their business model was funded in the future. It got very murky.
Well, it weren't rumors. That was actually that was what happened. I mean, but the Meyer Optic thing is, that was quite a, that was a well published. It's everybody knows what happened. But the unfortunately, of course, with Meyer Optic is that brand has now been bought out or bought by OPC Optics, who I've been working with to do the reviews of their latest lenses, which are all just really cool, and they are, from my experience, limited experience of the previous ones, the OPC ones are really they're better made, I think, and obviously a lot of money. But that's the same marketplace that me and Chris are going to be. Obviously, those are SLR lenses, and we're M mount lenses, but that's the sort of marketplace we're going to be in, where it's, really, like, as I say, odd lenses that not by any measure everybody's going to be interested in, but there will be a very small amount of people who are going to be very interested in, and that's what's interesting for me. I don't be any kind of battle with Nikon or Zeiss for the sharpest lens on the face of the planet.
50mm 1.4 and go for it. Yeah.
So yeah, we want to produce stuff that's, and the one that I said a minute ago that we're going to kickstart, that if that pans out, I mean, it's just cool. It's just going to be really cool. We've had it optically designed, and the theoretical MTF charts for what it is, without going into too much detail, like, it's just amazing. It's just going to be ace.
I get the impression that if enough people ask you, you'll just be too excited and we'll just say everything. So
no, I'm not going to.
That's okay. We'll stop there. I mean, what we'll say is we'll move on and do the photo competition, because I know that people are anxiously waiting. So what I will say, and I've seen Omar's written a question, please do still write questions for Hamish in the comments. And what we'll try and do at the end is then I'll whiz through, and just if there's some that make sense, we'll quickly cover them as well. Because
I can quickly answer that one.
Oh God, yeah.
The lenses will that particular the sonar lenses that that Chris has produced. I'll let him explain where they come from at when he wants to. The ones, my lenses that are my little lens, is lenses that are salvaged from compact cameras and the like. And then, but the big project, we'll be having the lenses manufactured. We have got quotes from because we've used a chap called Jason Lane to do the optical design.
The people know of Dry Plate fame.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. He does optics in real life, and He's got a company out in America who we've got quotes from, which is why I know how much it's the massive amount of money that it's going to cost. So yeah, there's an optic company basically, and we'd obviously be having to produce 300 at a time, which is to get the price anything like sensible.
Okay, well that's amazing and very exciting that you are adding at least one more company to your film photography or photography portfolio in there.
At least one, yeah.
At least one, exactly, at least one. Okay then, let's go on to the photos. So for those joining us from WonderBox subscribers, hopefully you already know the drill a little bit. So every month we open up a competition. The only requirement is that you shot them on WonderBox films. It doesn't have to be from that month. I'm often seeing actually sort of settling into a 1 or 2 month lag, as that's how long people take to shoot, develop, scan, and send them in, which is absolutely wonderful. And then we bring on a guest judge to judge them as they see fit. We say technical expertise and just how you respond emotionally to the photo, and you can choose personally how much weight you put on each of those. Special mentions, a lucky dip winner just randomly picked by a machine from all the entries so that you always have a chance of winning, and then a grand prize winner. Hamish, on the scale of technical expertise to stuff you just liked instinctively, where did you sit as you looked at these?
I just picked there's a total mix. There's a couple
that changed photo to photo. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I did essentially just pick photos I liked for different reasons. So there's as we'll get through them. Well, there's a couple that are technically, I think, very good, and there's a couple that are quite creative. There's one guy who's I didn't know which one of the photos to choose because I thought his photos were kind of the sort of best, I suppose, out of the lot. But the one that I chose as a winner was just one that made me smile. I just thought it was a really nice picture.
Brilliant. Right, let's get straight into it. Oh dear, hang on, I'm halfway through them. There we go. Phew, seamless, absolutely seamless that was. Okay then, the February photo competition. So what we'll do is we'll go through them. We'll chat a little bit about exactly why you chose. I put a couple of extra ones in as well, special mentions, and the winners at the end. So let's go through special mentions. So we're starting with one from Hilton Leslie. So technical expertise made you laugh, or a bit of both?
Both. Technically it's an excellent photo. I mean, to me, obviously there's like a little bit of motion blur in the dog. The dog is obviously moving. Dogs are incredibly difficult to photograph. Dogs moving are very difficult to photograph. A light coloured dog on a white background, moving what is going to be a cold environment, i.e. not particularly nice to be in, and compositionally, that's an excellent photo. Like the fact that the dog's head is framed by the darker area at the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's an excellent photo. It's a really good. It was I nearly picked it as the winner just because A, it made me laugh. B, it's an excellent composition, and C, if I'm doing letters or numbers. C, it's just it's obviously technically well exposed. People in the snow, you tend to see photos taken in the snow tend to be all grey and muddy looking because the snow makes cameras underexposed, etc. So yeah, it's just a good photo. Technically good, funny, and
for an extra point. So I deliberately don't send you which film they're on. Do you want to guess which film? You probably haven't been following along the WonderBox ones. This might be more tricky for you than for everyone else. But I'll give you a clue, and it's worth an extra bonus point.
Well, it's going to be something. It's quite conscious. It's going to be something like Cosmo Photo.
Similar-ish in the look. It's Let It Snow from FPP. So bonus point for shooting snow on Let It Snow. But no, exactly. So Hilton says, she called the film great for high contrast subject. It'll bring out those whites and blacks that you talked about. And then the description for what happened with the photo. Just after I'd cocked the shutter and focused, my dog leapt up and threw a chunk of snow that he'd picked up in his mouth. Startled by the cold sensation, I fired the shutter and hoped for the best. The result was this lovely candid shot that captured the sense of emotion. There we go. So I'm assuming focused on the dog originally, but not expecting them to suddenly pull this face. But no, absolutely love it. So well done, Hilton. A very, very worthy special mention. Okay. Cara Davison, what do you like here?
I don't know really. It just jumped out at me. I just quite liked it. I suppose it's got that kind of I guess that's cine still, is it?
Yeah.
So it's got that very kind of cine still look to it, which I quite like. We'll come back to this in a minute. I don't shoot cine still anymore, but I did shoot it a fair amount when it first came out, and I absolutely loved it. And then not sure why I got kind of drifted away from it, but I got some great shots in low light in London years ago when I went out for some drinks with some mates, and I think it just reminded me of those, and I just kind of liked it on the basis that it reminded me of photos that I've taken of my own that I quite liked.
Yeah, totally legitimate. Yeah, exactly. You can see exactly that it's Cinestill from the halation, but then the fact that it's the red bus as well. I mean, this is one of those photos where you look at it on a thumbnail and you look at it big, and it works on both levels, which is always a good sign.
And compositionally, it's obviously good. You've got the lead, the sort of subject of the bus in the left-hand side, and then you've got the kind of vanishing point of the two lines of light that lead you down to the other one. If I'd be taking it and I'm really fussy when it comes to these sorts of things, I would have edited it in Lightroom, and I would have made the verticals and cropped out verticals vertical, and then cropped out that car that you can just see the side of it. That's not me being negative about it. That's just me being like that sort of slightly OCD kind of twitchy.
Yeah. No, and actually, you say that with the low light. I mean, what impresses me is the how much detail's captured in the ceiling, because obviously a tunnel at night, you would never expect a film to pick that up. So, no, really lovely atmospheric shot, Cara. Okay, Chris Lockyer. Oh, Solitary Tree, Hamish.
Yeah, I just put this in
weakness
because of a little bit of a callback to our little video that we made.
That no one will ever see, but we really got to the heart of this trope. But it's a gorgeous photo.
Yeah. I mean, but it is clearly a very cold environment. So I thought, well, a solitary tree in a cold environment. After we talked about solitary trees on the cold top of the coldest hill, I thought I had to include it. But it is a really nice. I mean, joking aside, it is a really nice photo.
Yeah, and this one is Cosmo photo. So so picking up on exactly the same. And again, yeah, really lovely separation. That one tree does stand out from the background ones. The horizon doesn't cut halfway through the gate or anything like that, which would ruin it. Really lovely shapes and silhouettes. I really, really enjoy it. So congratulations, Chris. Lovely, lovely special mention. A.D. McFadden. Here we go again. So, Granthin, so say what you like about this, and then I'll give a bit of context as to A.D.'s work. So what jumped out?
I guess it must be a double exposure. It's not. I like this sort of thing has to really work for me, and it either really works or I just think it looks cack. And to me, this particular image really works. It's this type of creative film photography that there's a really fine line between there's a lot of it around and a lot of it looks pants. But this I thought was actually it is just a really good image, I think.
Well, I'm gonna add on to this two things. One, it's shot on Lomo purple.
Clearly.
Yep, that makes sense. Number two, not only is it double exposure, it's a film swap.
Okay, cool.
So this is Aiden saying, inspired to do a swap because of the never-ending lockdown. So great way to capture other locations in a safe and fun collaborative way. So yes, posted Lomo Purple to a friend in Dublin. No, and the reason that I laughed when it comes up as Aiden is because last month Aiden put in a few photos, and I made them into sort of a triptych of three just to show off. Again, I was trying to find one that I really liked, and I loved three. Put them all up, and actually they worked quite well as a three, purely because they were these double exposures with self-portraits, sort of exploring lockdown. Aiden had used out-of-focus traffic lights and out-of-focus LEDs to double exposure, which meant that you weren't getting just these like two in focus things smashed together. You were getting this strong silhouette of this portrait with this just extra atmosphere. Clearly on an absolute roll then. Picked up exactly where they'd left off. Really lovely photo. Well done, Aideen. I have the feeling we'll keep coming back. And Aideen is in Ireland, and I'm desperately trying to work out how to keep the WonderBox flowing through Brexit problems because I don't want to stop seeing these photos. It'll become easier after July. That's what I can say. All right then, Ryan Leroyd.
That's your one use of the B word during this.
Someone asked a question about it, and I was going to ask it, and I thought we can cover it separately in other times. Yeah, so there we go. So Ryan, what do you like here?
Well, this is one of the photos. I think this is like your previous 18 problem where there was a bunch of pictures that you liked all of them. Well, this was the set. Ryan's were the ones that I thought was the sort of best, the set of the best photos. If you see me, they were a set of photos that I thought stood out as being the most good, and this was just the one that I chose that I suppose I just liked. I can't quite put my finger on.
So Ryan says so this is Cosmo photo, and says the on the ones that were submitted, it was pushed a couple of stops on a recent walk with a newborn son and girlfriend, and absolutely adore the scans that came back, and this is one of them. Yeah, really, really lovely. Hard necessarily to see how the reflections are sort of working.
Well, I've got literally no idea of what I'm looking at, but I just quite like it.
What I find really interesting as well here, when I see this, it's a better version of a photo that I have. Actually, it's on the site. If I find it here, on taken on Cosmo photo. Here we go. In the sample photos, the second one is a photo of mine that I took of Lucy on a train in a black and white striped top with light coming across her face, high contrast, lovely striped portrait on the same film, which I found a wonderful coincidence. There we go. Cosmo Photo is designed for shooting photos of your partner with window blind.
Yeah.
But as I say, theirs was much better. So happy days. I'll switch out the sample photo. You can sample photos. You can shoot like this, but better. Really lovely work, Ryan. Okay, and then there's a couple that strangely, by the way, I don't know whether you'd done this deliberately. All the photos that you sent me were landscape oriented.
Yeah, I tend to take more landscape orientated photos. Well, I did. Do I? I've kind of stopped doing that. At one point, if you look through my Flickr, it is just landscape orientation images. Don't know what to say about that.
Prefer them?
Don't know. Apparently, looks that way, doesn't it?
Brilliant. Well, actually, in the background right now, all I can see now is just landscape photos.
Yeah. None of them mine, should have.
Quite right too. Interesting. Okay, there we go. That's slight aside, and you added zero insight to it, so that was good. Okay, here we go. So I pulled in a couple of portrait ones, but here is Cheryl Chu, and that's got to be St. Pancras, I think. But I really love this. I'm a bit of a sucker for these kind of high contrast architectural shapes. But what I like about it is the fact that at first it looks black and white, but then you do see the colour come through. You see the blue. I think this is Portrait 400.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like portrait. Funny enough, I don't see that as looking nearly like black and white. I see that as really nice, sunny, portrait-y colours.
Ah, I will fight you.
That kind of nice, glowy sunshine and nice blue.
Yeah.
No, it's nice. I did spot that one.
Yeah.
I spotted the other one that you'll get to in a second as well. But
really, 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 really gorgeous. And again, I think there's quite choiceful about the framing makes it work as well. It would have been easy to try and throw more into it. There's enough with the ceiling and then the wall that I really, really like. So well done, Cheryl. I think you were the Lucky Dip winner last month and a special mention. I think you were a special mention as well last month. So again, on a roll in 2021. And then another portrait one, Janice. Janice submitted a few, I think. Yeah.
I like there was another one of a very nearly got through boat one that was a funny enough landscape orientated. I like pictures of boats, big boats. I've got a painting of a big boat. I can't remember who it's by now. It's of some dazzle ships in a harbour. I really like. So I do quite like that sort of thing. I don't know why.
Oh, lovely. There we go. So now we know if you ever want to get on Hamish's good side, buy him a big boat. or a photo of. No, I really like this. I like the reflections. They make it really, really interesting, the whole. So it takes a while to work out where the waterline is. Really nice shapes, really good contrast. Another one on Cosmo Photo. So Cosmo Photo is clearly one of the films that...
Well, my favourite role of film, my favourite role of film last year was Cosmo Photo. That I shot, not my favourite film last year. My favourite roll of film was shot on. I only shot one roll of Cosmo Photo last year. I've only shot one roll of Cosmo Photo ever, in fact.
I only shot one roll of film last year, and then I was like, it's a weak compliment, but sure.
No, I took a roll to the beach at the end of the year and got some photos of the family, and they were just really nice. It's just really nice film, I think.
Really nice film, and I think at the moment as well, with when all of these are like bright winter light, interesting subjects that drive strong contrast, and it just really makes the most of it. So no, lovely work, Janice. Again, Janice had put in a few different ones that I really enjoyed, but this one for me just stood out really, really strong. Compositionally, and then the clarity of the water, the reflections are just incredible. Okay, Lucky Dip. So this is the one where we say, tell the computer to pull out a random photo entry. So if you're in the competition, you can win this at any point, no matter who the guest judge is. And this month, the Lucky Dip winner is Hunter Scott. Whoa, hang on a minute. This is worth the sound effect. Yeah, Hunter Scott. And actually, I really, really like this photo as well.
Yeah, that's good.
Back. I really, really love it. So congratulations, Hunter. I think you'd been the grand prize winner a few months ago, so you will be getting prize, which I'll come on to in a second. This is called Snow Day. It's shot on street candy. Hunter says that his experience of the film is very, very grainy. Definitely would work well for streets, but give it plenty of light, as the shadows can get a little muddy if underexposed. And this was and then a lovely story. Partner's little brother moved from New Zealand before COVID. He thinks this is the first time he'd ever seen snow. So not only are you seeing somebody enjoying snow for the very first time, I think the amount of motion blur as well is stunning. Like face in focus, grin really clear, the shoes really clear, and then as you go along the arm, you get more blur. Really, really gorgeous. So very worthy Lucky Dip winner, Hunter. So congratulations. So we'll move on to the grand prize. So before we do, the prizes. So Hunter and we're about to announce the grand prize winner. We have had a huge amount of FPP film arrive this month. Now I know we put in the low ISO into the WonderBox, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold back some of the lovely films that have just come in for the first time. Retrochrome. I don't know if you've ever shot Retrochrome, Hamish. High speed slide film. Vintage, dreamy. Brilliant. It's much better than Hamish's face would currently suggest. And then there's another couple of really, really interesting black and white 35mm films as well. So I'm going to make a small bundle of FPP interesting films that will be going your way. So Hunter Scott, watch out for that coming your way soon. And then the grand prize winner, Sammy Gunnell. And I have to be careful pronouncing that in case I say Sally Gunnell. Sammy Gunnell. And this is the one that you mentioned this right at the start. This one just made you smile.
Yes. Well, I mean, how could it not? And I suppose what I like about it is that, well, there's a little bit. It reminds me of a photo that I took of just Connie on a swing, which is really like sort of important photo to me. It was when I first got my Yashica T5, and from the first roll of Yashica T5, which is what made me start the blog, I took a photo of Connie on a swing, and I just love the picture. It's imperfect. Like her foot is hanging off the bottom of the image, and it's not amazingly framed. This is better framed, but this is imperfect because the chain of the swing goes in front of her eye, but that's the beauty of snapshot photography. And I think that sometimes snapshots just really, I don't know, they're just what photography should be, but what photography is. Do you know what I mean? Its heart is just this kind of just snapshot in time, and that is like just a couple of really happy people doing something that is clearly making them happy on a sunny day. What's not to like? You just look at that and you can kind of just, I don't know, it just has a really nice feeling. I also have this thing with some images randomly, I don't know why, but some images I look at them and they just give me it's not just a positive feeling. I just get something from it that I can't quite explain. So yeah, I just get a bit of that from it. It's just nice. It's just a nice image.
No, I think that's lovely. So Sammy's just written, actually, thanks so much. He's just starting out with film. Oh my god. So, wow. So if you're just starting out, you're already a grand prize winner. It can only be downhill from here, so sorry about that. No, honestly, really good. I totally agree, Hamish. I mean, when you look at... It's interesting, when you look back at street photography that stands the test of time, it's not often the stuff that looks really clever or framed. It's not often that stuff that actually lasts. The stuff that lasts is the stuff that you say makes you feel either that you could be there or you want to be there, or it can't just be a clever thing. And actually, I'll read out. So Sammy's call it Smiles in the Manor. It's Portra 400. So definitely a fantastic colour film to be using. And so the story for the photo, it was a cold and grey day, but the sun came out for just a moment. But the smiles had been there all along. It was great to be able to capture a glimmer of both.
Yeah, very good.
Well, that is a absolutely wonderful photo and a way to end it. So congratulations, Sammy. Congratulations to everyone, special mention, and the lucky dip winner. So again, as I say, Sammy and Hunter will be getting a little extra bundle of FPP goodies when I've sorted it out, probably next week, to say well done. But honestly, like, again, the quality and the variety was absolutely incredible. Omar, I think it was Omar, had asked just before we started, has anyone sent any entries on the ISO 6 film yet? So this is FPP low ISO. I don't think I'd seen any yet, Omar. I'm really excited. I think we released the video last week. Last week I think it was. I think people are taking their time to work out how to shoot ISO 6. Hamish, how would you shoot an ISO 6 35mm film?
Well, I have shot an ISO 6 35mm film with a fast lens on a sunny day.
So you're not going to go down the shutter cable and a tripod route. You're just going to go handheld.
No, funny enough, which is the lomography one that's the faster of the two? There's one that's 6, isn't there? Is there?
So it's Babylon and
Phantom or something.
Phantom's 8, Babylon's 13, I think.
Yeah. So is it Phantom? Is that how you pronounce it? Well, that I shot some of that on a sunny sort of afternoon, evening. In fact I shot some for their pre. I was one of the test. What do you call it? What am I trying to say? I was one of the people that shot it before it was out.
VIPs, special people.
Beta test, I suppose.
Beta testers, yes, that makes sense.
So when they before they released that, I had a roll and I really liked the.
So what shutter speeds could you realistically get?
I was shooting it at sort of a 60th of a second at f1.4 on a sunny day.
At the sun, yeah, perfect. Yeah. No, and that is exactly, it is within the realm. I mean, one of the FPP films that came in today was the 0.6 ISO.
Useful.
which I don't think you can handhold at any point. So we've got a couple of people. So Omar's saying he's struggling to work out, I think, what to shoot on. Lawrence, responding to your open a fast lens on a sunny day, says, "Dang, I shot it on a pinhole." So Lawrence just embraced the whole thing and just went, "Sod it, I'm going to be here for 2 hours. Let's."
Where would you even start with working out the reciprocity failure?
I think it's the kind of one where you put your camera down, you open the shutter, you go have dinner, and how long does dinner take?
About 3 weeks.
Potentially. And then 2 weeks later you come back and like, oh, I remember I was taking a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. No, I'm really, really excited for these. Like I said at the time, in the video when we did it, I said I think I'm gonna go down the tripod shutter cable, find something we've got countryside around, find something interesting and solid that I can fret like a barn or goalposts in the park or something, and then hope that there's wind or the tree movements or people walking past to create a bit of interest. That's where I'm getting.
The thing you can do is, not that we need to do this, being as we've just been through another COVID lockdown, but you could shoot some street photography and literally remove the people on the street by using such a long shutter speed that they would disappear essentially, or be just a slight blur.
Yeah, and that would be my first thought. I think, yeah, out of lockdown, that would definitely be the same principle, but going to Oxford or London, finding a really cool building or something, and then yeah, you're right, getting the blur. So Lawrence said one shot was estimated at 20 minutes. He didn't bother. Oh, Sverion's there. Here we go. 3 minutes in daylight. Oh, that's fine.
He's got an answer for everything, that bloke has.
That does, yeah. In a pinhole. Wow. Omar saying pointed at the sky on a clear night. The problem you'll have there with Omar, if you pointed at sky, is because you get the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah. So you do streaks.
You won't get streaks because you need the stars to stay there long enough to capture the stars with long exposure. But at ISO 6, the stars will move before they've even necessarily registered.
Right, yeah.
Then have to try and rotate the camera at the same speed as the Earth's rotating for half an hour. I've only ever done late night, like astrophotography, while quite drunk in the middle of the field in the Lake District. And the odds of me being able to rotate a camera at the same time, I mean, the odds of me being able to stand up at that point was fair.
You can get a bit of kit to do that, to follow the...
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, my wife's dad, who was really into astronomy, he had a what he would call his sober telescope and his drunk telescope, and the drunk telescope was plugged into the computer and had the software to track automatically.
Yeah.
It'd just be like, show me this constellation. And that was one for after 2 beers, because before then you can do it. Right then, we have witted long enough, I think. We've witted long enough to take a photo on ISO 6 at night. Hamish, thank you so much. That was brilliant. Thank you so much for going through all the photos and taking the time to really pick some really gorgeous images. Thank you for telling us all about your various projects, including the breaking news of the new lens.
Lenses.
I'll put the website link in the notes.
It's not ready yet. There's no point.
Okay, fine. I'll put the address of the kiln to send postcards to find out, and that's really, really cool. Anything that you wanted to say that we haven't covered? Anything you want to plug that we haven't covered? Obviously, the podcast.
I was going to say, not the podcast. I was going to say that if anybody who'd, especially the people photos that we've talked about, if any of them want to submit them as like 5 frames articles or little photo project articles to 35mmc, they'd be more than welcome to.
That's a brilliant idea. So just remind us then, so 5 frames, do they have to be from the same roll, or are they...
It doesn't need to be. I mean, so we have, but the photo articles that go on the website fit in loosely into, there's other categories, but there's essentially 5 frames with, which is like, tends to be more, it's kind of like 5 frames with a camera and film. Mm-hmm. And then the focus of the article is a little bit more towards, it doesn't have to be about the camera and film, but it's a bit more towards about the camera and film, and then the story of where you went and why you took those particular photos. And we have project articles, which are not about the camera or the film necessarily, or they may be mentioned. They're more about, a particular photo project, a series of images that are knitted together by,
Hmm.
whatever it is.
No, definitely, and especially for the people who have been featured in special mentions and the winners. This sounds brilliant. So, what's the best way? Is there a place on the website to go and submit an article, or do they submit a proposal and then you say yes, please?
You can read about what to do if you go to on the website. If you go to the 35OMC menu, and then there's a item called submit content. But basically, the short long of it is email me a draft text to info@35mmc.com. I don't want to see the photos to start with. I like to read the text and then see the photos afterwards, because it stops me being a judgmental arsehole. So yeah, send me some text that will eventually be added with photos. And once you submit content to 35OMC once, you get a set of keys. You can log in and you can upload content whenever you like. Once you've done it once, you can then do it again and again and again. And sometimes I come back with edits, and sometimes I edit the content myself. Sometimes I come back with edits. Sometimes, as me and Soroyan have been through today, Soroyan works for 35OMC, and he does a lot of content. He does a lot of content himself, but his paid role is helping to find contributors, and also today helping to edit contributors' content.
No, that's wonderful, and I think yes, I would highly encourage people who have submitted, because the photos that you guys are taking and the stories behind them. I mean, I read out some of my favourites, but every one of those images has a fantastic story that helps people understand more about the film that they've used, but also about you and your photographic philosophy and what you're enjoying, and how far into your film journey you are. All of this stuff that you've already heard Hamish talk about is what the website's all about. So, all right, that is one link that I will put in, because that's probably more important than frankly any of the others. That's a brilliant idea. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hamish. Yeah.
We've only gone 20 minutes over.
That's like an hour better than last time, and I'm not hammered. So
yes. Yeah.
There's good news and bad news in there. Right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you everyone who's got involved as well. It's lovely to read the comments, bring the questions in and stuff like that. We will be back. Well, not both of us in this form. I will be back in a month's time with a new guest judge. Oh, he's ruined the lighting. Hamish, we will hear from you, I'm sure, at some point. We're all subscribed to the podcast. That's what we're excited about. Right, I'm stopping it now. Bye, everyone. Good night.